Today, we need to talk about something that is critically important. It's a conflict that has spiraled into the largest displacement crisis on the entire planet, and yet, for most of the world, it's like it's not even happening. We're talking about the war in Sudan.
So let's just start with a number. 9 million. That's how many people have been ripped from their homes but are still trapped inside Sudan. To really get your head around that, that's more than the entire population of Switzerland, all desperately searching for safety within their own country.
And, this quote from SOS Children's Villages just cuts right to the heart of the tragedy. It says, "Children's cries for help have become daily background noise in a conflict the world barely listens to." Beyond the numbers, it's that silence, that global neglect that makes this all so much worse.
Okay, so let's dive a little deeper into that human cost. Because we're talking about a level of suffering that is, well, it's almost impossible to fully grasp, and it's happening right now, far from the headlines. And if you zoom out a bit to include people who fled to neighboring countries, the total number of people displaced is over 12 million. But here's the part that is just absolutely gut-wrenching. Half of them, 50% of all those displaced, are kids. Millions and millions of children have lost their homes, their schools, everything. So how? How does a country of almost 50 million people just collapse into chaos like this? Well, when you boil it all down, it comes down to a bitter personal power struggle. A lot of people just call it the Generals' War. And these are the two men right at the center of it. On one side, you've got General al-Burhan. He leads the official army, the Sudanese armed forces. And on the other side, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, who everyone calls Hemedti. He leads a massive paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. And look at their supporters. This isn't just a local fight. Sudan has become a chessboard for other countries, for outside powers all wanting a piece of the action.
Now, you really can't understand this war without understanding the RSF. This group didn't just pop up out of nowhere. They actually grew out of the Janjaweed militia, which became infamous for its brutal tactics, for committing atrocities and ethnic cleansing back in the Darfur War. And that history, that DNA, really defines how they operate today.
But here's the real twist in all this. These two generals, Burhan and Hemedti, they weren't always enemies. Not that long ago, they were actually partners. They staged a coup together. So what happened? How did it all fall apart so spectacularly? Well, the crazy thing is, this whole story started with a glimmer of hope. Back in 2019, huge popular protests managed to overthrow a longtime dictator, but that hope was short-lived. In 2021, Burhan and Hemedti joined forces, launched a military coup, and grabbed power for themselves. They ruled together, but, it was an alliance built on sand, just pure ambition. And their whole partnership came crashing down over one single fundamental disagreement: what to do with Hemedti's powerful RSF fighters. The plan was to merge them into the official national army. Burhan wanted it done in just 2 years, basically absorbing and neutralizing Hemedti's power. But Hemedti demanded a 10-year plan, which would let him keep his influence. Neither man would budge, and so they went to war over it. And of course, while these two generals play their power games, it's the ordinary people, the civilians, who are paying the ultimate price. The impact on them hasn't just been bad, it has been a complete and utter collapse of their society. I mean, just look at these numbers. 70% of health services, gone. A staggering 80% of schools are either closed or being used as military shelters. The very things that hold a society together have just been torn apart. And the most horrifying part? This isn't just collateral damage, it's a strategy. Aid groups and the UN are reporting that both sides are deliberately using hunger as a weapon of war. There's mass sexual violence, renewed reports of ethnic cleansing in Darfur, and kids are being actively recruited to become soldiers. These are war crimes, plain and simple. And I just want to pause on this number. 19 million children. That's an entire generation that has been robbed of its future. Their chance for a better life has been completely derailed by this conflict. The long-term consequences of this alone are just staggering.
So, in the middle of all this darkness and horror, is there any hope? Well, yes. There are people on the ground right now risking everything to help. And this last section is about their incredible, monumental struggle.
So what does that help actually mean on the ground? Well, it starts with the absolute basics for survival.
creating safe places for families, getting life-saving food and water to people, and providing critical medical care. But it's also about trying to piece together a future, giving kids some kind of schooling, and offering crucial psychological support for children who have seen things no one should ever have to see.
And this quote from Limia Ahmed, who's working on the ground with SOS Children's Villages, she just puts it perfectly. She says, "It is our collective responsibility to ensure that these children receive the protection and care they deserve." This isn't just Sudan's problem to solve. It's really a test of our collective humanity.
So we're going to leave you with this final thought. In a crisis that's been called the world's largest and also its most ignored, a war where the cries of millions of children have just become background noise, who is responsible for finally turning up the volume?